All right, let's do it, guys. G'day, welcome once again to the tripod. My name's Alex, and as always, I'll be going through all 8 NRL games from a punting perspective. First things first, make sure you've downloaded the tripod app. That's where you'll find all our tips for free when we release them. I'll obviously go through some tips today. I've got 17 on the cards for tonight's game, for tonight or for this weekend's game. 17 best bets. And I'll be saying them obviously live on the pod and then releasing them in text in the tripod app. You'll find a link for that in the description to this video. And likewise, make sure you've joined the tripod group on Facebook. That's where all the banter goes down. If you're more into that, join the group certainly. But if you're more into the tips, fucking make sure you're in the tripod app because that is tips and only tips. All right, let's get to it. Obviously, rep round and origin last weekend, so no NRL games last weekend. Had a decent week on rep round, went 8-6 on best bets. Kind of fucking annoying, to be honest with you, because I was all over New South Wales. I know in the origin preview pod, I love New South Wales. I thought it was a great tip. I told many people it was almost my favourite NRL tip of the entire year. Yet somehow we end up going 3-3 on best bets. Just absolute fucking bullshit. Like we had Queensland time of first try to be before 16 minutes. They fucking score with like 30 seconds left. Shit like that, and like higher scoring half to be the second half. There's fucking 24 points in the first half and only 20 in the second half. So kind of annoying that you are on the right side completely, get an absolutely demolition of a game, and somehow go 3-3 on best bets. But still a slightly profitable round on 8-6. So, you know, a season long tally now we sit at, for our singles, if you put $100 on every single one of our singles, you'd be up $3,092. If you'd put $50 on all of our multis, you would be up $480. So not terrible. And I mean, even if you're a smaller punter, you can put $100 on every single bet. You'd be up $3,500 for the year, which is only 15 weeks in now. That's not a terrible start to the season, that's for sure. All right, let's kick things off. Thursday night we have the Tigers plus 5.5 points hosting the Rabbits. 39.5 points is the total. I don't mind the Tigers in this one, actually. The line seems slightly too high for me. I know that the Rabbits get Adam Reynolds back, they get George Burgess back, but they're still not fully healthy. You've still got Tom Burgess and Sam Burgess on the pine. I know that they have all their origin reps. Damien Cook, Cam Murray, Gagai, they're all backing up, but certainly that origin game, that will take it out of them a little bit, and they'll certainly be a little bit worse for wear, whereas the Tigers, on the other hand, very limited origin exposure, so they'll be ready to go, certainly. And also, another thing that I want to mention, I know that it's kind of a rare thing to get, a week where every single team has a bye in the NRL. I know we haven't had this always. Certainly, you get that, obviously, when you have origin and rep round on the weekend. But what I do think happens, and this will be a recurring theme throughout the pod, I think if you have a team that is completely out of it, the bye week doesn't necessarily do them any good. It's like they're shit. They're sitting like bottom 4 on the ladder. They've got no hope of making it into the top 8. And they kind of treat the bye week like a holiday. Whereas if you get a good team that's, let's say, coming off a loss before the bye week, that's a good time to kind of jump on them. Likewise with a team that's kind of sitting around the cusp of the 8. Like if they're sitting kind of 6th place to 10th place on the ladder, and maybe they got a win before the bye week, I think that's a really good sign. You get that win, you get a confidence boost, and you go into the bye week kind of still thinking that you have hope of making the 8. And that's what we have here with the Tigers. They're sitting 9th on the ladder currently. They get a pretty lucky 1-point win over the Cowboys before the bye week. I think that'll do their confidence a world of good. So in that case, they go into the bye week, and instead of losing that game by 1 point, which they easily could have, and drop down the ladder and think, fuck, it's a long way to climb back out now. They get a 1-point win over the Cows 2 weeks ago, and they go into the bye week with, I think, renewed focus and belief that they can actually make the 8. So I think the Tigers show up here, and I think the line is a little bit too high. We've got 3 best bets on the game. I'm taking the Tigers plus 6.5 points. That one is $1.80. You can find that one on Ladbrokes, Neds, and on BetEasy. I'll take the Tigers team total over 15.5 points. You can find that one at $1.83 on Ladbrokes and on Neds. And I'll take the Rabbitohs team total under 22.5 points. You can find that one on Ladbrokes and Neds as well. let's move on to the early Friday game. We've got the Dragons hosting the Cowboys. The Dragons are 6-point favourites. 40.5 points is the total. Interesting thing for the Cowboys here, they signed Scott Drinkwater at fullback from the Storm, and he's going to slot right in there at fullback. And I think that's good for the Cowboys, to be honest with you. You get Michael Morgan, who can move to 5'8", and Kau can move to centre. And from all reports, I understand that Scott Drinkwater hasn't played this season, got injured pre-season, which is was devastating for the Storm, etc. But he's a good player, and I think that certainly helps this Cowboys team and probably gives them a little bit of a boost as well. Unfortunate that Josh Maguire is suspended, but it's fair enough. The guy, I know I'm a Brisbane Broncos supporter, I'm a Queensland supporter. It was a fucking dog shot late in the 80th minute. There's no need for that, and he completely deserves to be suspended for it. But on the Cowboys front, you do get Jordan McLean back, and to be honest, Josh Maguire, he's been playing okay this season, and I understand he's an Origin level forward, but fuck, some of the shit he does is so fucking dumb. On the Cowboys front as well, you get Matt Scott, who's named in the reserves. They're hoping that he could be back. They, from all reports that I've read, he should be ready in time, which will certainly be a boost for the Cowboys. Obviously, Taumalola got through rep round unscathed, which is good. On the Dragons front, you have four players, obviously, backing up from Origin, 3 from the New South Wales team. And what I kind of look for around Origin time is I do like to go against teams that have a few players from the winning Origin side. I just think, it's probably a 1 or 2% advantage, but when you have a Sunday game, you have to back up early on the Friday night, and you have 3 players in your team from the New South Wales winning side that just dominated, they're probably having a few drinks on that Sunday night, a few more than the Queenslanders would have, and certainly a few more than players that are not playing Origin would have. So I think that's a little bit of a disadvantage for the Dragons. From the Dragons' point of view, obviously the bye, I thought would have come at a pretty good time for them. They would have been building some confidence, but no. They snapped their 5-game losing streak. They get a win, and I actually took them in that next game against Manly, but no, they look fucking flat against Manly. They come out, they get absolutely thumped. I actually might think that this Dragons team is going into the bye thinking their season may already be over. But the same thing could be said for the Cowboys. They suffer 2 really close losses just before rep round. They lose by 2 points and then by 1 point. So, by the same token, I could make that argument for the Cowboys. But to be fair, this line is hovering around 6 points. The Dragons have a decent home field advantage. I guess you can give them 2.5 points. But really, the way the Dragons have been playing the last couple of months, I don't think I can make the argument that they are 3-4 points better than the Cowboys. So I'm going to take a flyer with the Cowboys here. I've got 2 best bets on the game. I've got the Cowboys plus 6.5 points. That one is $1.81 on Unibet. And I'm also going to take under 40.5. Best price for that one is $1.90 on Sportsbet. It's just the fact that I guess, the Cowboys struggle to put on points, and certainly the Dragons have struggled recently as well. Next up, absolute barn burner. We've got the Roosters. Pick'em against the Storm. 38.5 points is the total. Obviously, you'll see that on your bookies, they've got the Roosters as the home team, but it's not. It's on a completely neutral venue. This one is at the Adelaide Oval. And I like the Storm here. Number of reasons, I guess. Number one is revenge factor, and I've talked about this numerous times. Talked about this obviously in Origin as well. The team that loses the previous encounter, especially if it was recent, they are a bit more motivated for that second matchup, and they are a bit more inclined to make changes and adjustments to help them win Game 2. It happened with New South Wales against Queensland in Game 2 of Origin, and I think it happens again here. Not only did Storm lose the first encounter, but they lost fucking brutally. 21-20, they missed a couple of shots at field goal, I believe, right there at the end, and that was only back in April. So you have a huge revenge factor for the Storm. And this is, to be honest, this is not a full-strength Roosters side. You still are missing Keary, which is a huge out, and to a lesser extent, Brett Morris, who's not going to play. That's a little bit of an out, but I guess, my thing here is I think these two teams fully healthy are relatively similar, to be honest. And this Roosters team is not fully healthy. We are the Storm side that is, hungry for revenge here, that is basically fully strength, and we're getting them at Pick'em. I think I have to take the Storm in this spot. And I really do trust Craig Bellamy. I think he's a better coach. And whenever I have a neutral venue game where, things are a little bit different and that kind of thing, I always trust the better coach to have the troops motivated and stuff sorted out for a neutral venue game. So I will be taking the Storm here. I do think they get the job done. I'll take the Storm just to win. I'm going to take it on Bet365. I know that they are $1.85 on numerous sites, but Bet365 has it's not really a promo, I guess. It's like if the game goes to extra time, you can't lose. So that's why I'm going to take it on Bet365. It's just their extra chance, extra time, whatever. It's not really a promo. It's just what they have done constantly. So if the game goes to extra time and the Roosters win, you don't lose that bet. Next up, I'll take the Roosters team total under 18.5 points. That one is $1.81 on Unibet. And I'm going to take the total under 39.5 points. That one's $1.84 on Unibet. Whenever you get a massive game with two kind of ladder-leading teams where the game means a lot, especially when they had a really close encounter previously, you always look towards that game going under. I see a comment. Yes, $1.88 on PointsBet. 4 up at halftime, you win. That's certainly better. So if you have PointsBet, and many of you obviously do, after you got on a couple of our State of Origin namer bets, certainly play it on there. I'm not sure what the limit is on those ones, but obviously on Bet365, there's no limit. So generally the bets that we give out on here are not promo related, so they're any limit. So the 365 one is obviously you can bet $10,000 on that one, and it's fine. Next up, we got Titans +4 hosting Manly. 42.5 is the total. Don't have much on this one. God, I just really worry about the Titans. I know we were kind of high on them at the start of the season, but man, they've disappointed throughout the season. Injuries and all sorts of stuff has just kind of made their season spiral downwards, and now they're sitting in that bottom 4 of the ladder. Whereas Manly, these are two teams that are going in completely different directions. Manly is getting healthier. They're getting wins on the board. They're sitting in the top 8, and they're building quite nicely for the finals. Also, Titans still don't have Jai Arrow, which is a massive loss. And you saw that was a big loss for Queensland in Origin Game 2. And look, to be honest, like the Titans may just be dead. And I always struggle to take teams where I really worry about their motivation and if they have just given up on the season, especially after a bye, because you worry about what they've been doing during that bye week, if they've been focused, if they've been saying, all right, fine, we can still make the 8. And to be honest, I don't know if the Titans have been doing that, whereas I'm pretty sure that Manly has had a very, very solid bye week preparation because they are building nicely for the finals and getting healthier. They also got 2 wins before the bye week, which certainly helps. They're sitting 6th on the ladder. So, all things point to Manly being too good in this one. But the issue is, I'm not about to lay 4 points away from home with this Manly side, even though I do think that they do get the job done. Next up, a very interesting game, this one, actually, and one that people will have a lot of differing opinions on. We've got the Knights laying 2.5 points, hosting the Broncos. 41.5 is the total. Once again, 2 teams moving in very opposite directions. I understand that the Knights got blown out prior to the bye week, but before that, they'd won 5 in a row, or 6 in a row, maybe it was. Whereas the Broncos are just fucking struggling to string anything together. Now, this line tells me that these teams are basically even. I know that the line is moving, towards 3.5 in some places, and we have said that the Knights have one of the stronger home fields in the comp. We say it's probably worth about 3 to 3.5 points, and especially when the Knights are doing well, which they are this season, that home field certainly gets like a half-point bump. So, people can make the argument that these teams are even. I don't think I can. I think the Knights are the better team here. I think they've been playing better football over the past, month and a half. And I think that they're going to be more motivated for this one. It's another thing where, I guess you can make the argument, certainly the Broncos haven't given up on the season. I don't think they have given up, but I think that they think it's a very, very long way back from here, that's for sure. And like I kind of said at the start of the pod, I want to take a good team that I trust off a bad loss. Do I trust this Knights team? I think I do. And they got blown out 34-4 against the Storm before the bye week. And before that, they had 5 wins in a row. I trust them to bounce back. The Broncos got blown out 38-10 against the Eels before the bye week. Do I trust the Broncos to fucking show up after another shitty performance? I don't. Certainly less so than the Knights. So I do actually like the Knights to get the job done here with the strong home field advantage. So I'm taking 4 best bets at this stage. I have made myself a mechanical Knights -2. I do suggest you guys do that because I don't think there will be a -2 available to get like this on game time. It's going to end up at $1.80. The way we're going to do it is to put 58% of our stake on the Knights -1.5. That is $1.72. You can find that one on Ladbrokes. If that moves, you can also find it on Neds. And we're going to put the remaining 42% of our stake on the Knights -2.5 points. The best price on that one is $1.91 on Bet365. And to be honest with you, I would almost just play the Knights -1.5 at $1.72. That's a pretty good price. Second bet will be the Broncos team total under 18.5 points. That one is $1.80 on Ladbrokes. Third bet will be the Knights team total over 21.5 points. That's $1.82 on Sportsbet. And next up, we got the Knights over 3.5 tries. That one is $1.80 on Sportsbet. I know the last two are kind of doubling up a little bit, but I do think that the Knights, they score more points at home, obviously, and I do think they can get over the 21.5 and over the 3.5 and over the 3.5 tries, and I feel quite strongly about it, so I have doubled up on those two, and they are two bets that are the only ones in the marketplace that are over $1.80, respectively. So I think I'm jumping ahead of the market, and I don't think they'll be there come game time. Next up, got the Eels +2 against the Raiders. 39.5 points is the total. Another neutral venue game. So if you look at it on your betting sites, you'll notice that the Eels seem like they're the home team. But don't be confused. This one is in Darwin, so a completely neutral venue. I would almost say that it's maybe like a half-point advantage to the Eels because they're probably a little bit more used to a little bit muggier weather than the Raiders, where it's basically freezing down in Canberra at the moment. Because it is going to be like 25 to 28 degrees for game time. It's going to be fairly muggy, like high 80s humidity. So I feel like it's probably a slight advantage for the Eels rather than the Raiders, who are coming from very cold temperatures down in there in Canberra. No play on the game as yet. Very, very tough one for me. I do agree with the line where I think that the Raiders are the slightly better team. You still have Michael Jennings out for the Eels. You do get Dylan Brown back. It's going to be his first game at 5'8" since round 3. He is probably better than Salmon, but in saying that, that's a long layoff between games, so we'll have to see how he slots back and if he's going to be any good there. For the Raiders, I guess personnel info, you've still got Nick Kotrick missing, but you do get Josh Hodgson back, so that's probably a wash, I guess, there. In terms of last game out, you've got the Raiders, on a 3-game win streak. Very, very confident. And to be honest, they have been playing like a top 4 team basically all season. They've been extremely solid. They're sitting 4th on the table, and there's no reason to think that they're going to have a letdown spot here. Whereas the Eels are a confidence team, and to get that big win over the Broncos just before the bye week, I think that's huge for them. Obviously, sitting around the cusp of the 8, you go into the bye week with a lot of confidence. And when this Eels side gets some confidence, you've seen what they can do. Like against the Broncos, win by 28 points, they get a bit of a roll on. So, it's tough for me at this line of 2. I think the Raiders certainly are, probably better, probably a couple of points better, maybe even 2.5 points better. But I think that the venue probably suits the Eels a little bit better than the Raiders. So, leaving the game alone for now. If I see anything jump out at me later on in the week, I may be taking it. All right, next up, we got the Warriors laying 2.5 points, hosting the Panthers. 39.5 is the total. One of my favorite games of the week. I'd say that this between the Storm game and the Panthers game, these are my 2 favorite games of the week. I actually really like the Panthers in this one. It's another one of those ones where you go back to revenge factor. The Warriors thrashed the Panthers in Penrith 30-10 about a month ago, and we were all over the Warriors in that one. They win by 20 points, and that was a time when the Panthers were basically shitting themselves. They were absolutely terrible. They had lost like 5 games in a row or something ridiculous. Now they go to Auckland. This is a different fucking Warriors team. They have, they won what, 5 in a row, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly how much they'd won in a row, but basically they're 14th on the ladder now, right? Which, for any other team, I think you'd say, all right, heading into the bye week, they're going to tell themselves, we're fucked. we're done for the season. But the Panthers are on a 4-game win streak. They're 14th on the table. They're getting healthier, except for Nathan Cleary, obviously, which is a decent out. But I think that Maloney and Luai can get the job done here. And not only that, you get a 1-point win against the Rabbits, a massive win just before the bye week. I think I wouldn't like the Panthers if they would have lost that game, but they get the win by 1 point. You're building confidence into the bye week. People are starting to play well. Maloney is fucking on fire. I think he was, arguably the best player for New South Wales apart from Tommy Turbo. I'd say that certainly Jake Trbojevic was not. So sorry for you guys that had Tommy Turbo for man of the match. I think you got probably robbed. But yeah, unfortunate for them that Cleary's out for a month, but I think it's great. You can bring Luai in there, and you've seen what they've done in the past. You've seen Maloney paired with Luai. You've seen with Cleary paired with Luai, and they won both of those games. So I think they can do a job here. For the Warriors, no Tohu Harris, no Isaac Luke, and I just really think that the Panthers are building nicely. I know they're still 14th on the ladder, but they've won 4 games in a row. Another one of those teams that thrives on confidence, and I think that heading into the bye week with a 1-point win over the Rabbits, they're going to be full of confidence heading to Auckland. I think they are the better team and playing the better team at the moment. So I'm going to take 5 bets on the Panthers for this one. Let's take the Panthers plus 4.5 points. That is $1.81 in the sports bet. Pick your own line section. That will not be there tomorrow. Probably won't even be there by the time I finish this sentence. Let's take the Panthers winning at halftime or full time. That's $2 on sports bet. I think it's a good plus money price. It's $1.83 on BetEasy. I'll take the Panthers plus 2.5 points in the first half. That one's $1.80 on Bet365. I'll take the Panthers team total over 6.5 points in the first half. That one's $1.90 on Bet365 as well. And I'll also take the Warriors under 10.5 points in the first half. That one is $1.80 on Bet365. Finish off the round on Sunday. We've got the Doggies plus 8.5 points hosting the Sharks. 40.5 is the total. Another one of those games where I just don't know what to do. There's no chance in hell that I'm taking the Bulldogs. They're sitting last on the table. They're playing absolutely terrible. And, one thing that you've always kind of been able to rely on with the Bulldogs is effort. Even though they've been fairly talentless the last few years, what you could always rely on was that they would give 100% every single game. I cannot rely on that anymore with this Bulldogs team. I've seen very minimal effort from them in the last 2 months, and I know that they are a very limited talented roster, that's for sure. So even though they are at home in this one, they're sitting last on the table. They're heading into the bye week. And like I said, when you get a terrible team that has no chance of making the 8, I think that the bye week half the time does you more harm than good because you're not focused on footy during that bye week, and you're certainly not motivated to come out after a 2-week break and put in a good performance. On the flip side, I think the Sharks team is building very, very nicely for the finals. They're getting healthier now. I think that, a lot of the Sharks' worries and losses in the first half of the season came because of injury. They're certainly getting healthy now. They've got Wade Graham back. I think he had a good... he's been playing well the last couple of weeks. The only bad thing is obviously you get Fafita suspended, but I still do think the Sharks team is just way too good for this Doggies team. And I think, they could easily, like Andrew's saying in the comments, they could easily spank them by 20 points. My issue being is I kind of hate laying, close to double digits or double digits, especially with an away team. So the line is probably just a bit too rich for my blood, but there's certainly no way in hell that I would take the Bulldogs in this game. And I can rarely say that about a big underdog, around 10 points. Usually my initial instinct when I see a line of 8.5 points, especially with a home team, my initial instinct is to take the home team. This time it was. There's no fucking way I'm taking the Bulldogs, that's for sure. So, and especially because I don't want to take a very good team in the Sharks, which I actually do think they are. I don't want to take a good team off a loss, and especially a close loss before the bye week. So, which is what the Sharks did. They lost in a close one to the Raiders before the bye week. So, I don't want to go against the Sharks here. I think they get the job done, but I just don't know if I want to lay the 8.5 points. That is it. How long did we take today? Fuck, I can talk. Jesus Christ. I thought once Jacob left, I would keep him a little bit shorter. They'd be 10, 15 minutes, but somehow I've still gone 30 minutes, 27 minutes for some reason. But anyway, that'll wrap it, guys. Hopefully you got all those best bets. If you didn't, obviously you can rewatch it or whatever. Or alternatively, I'll be posting them in the app tomorrow, in the Tripod app tomorrow morning, along with any other fucking best bets that I can find. I'll have another deep dive tomorrow about 10, 11 o'clock, and I'll possibly post some more bets around lunchtime. So make sure you're in there. Make sure you're in the group. And if you need anything, any bookies, any questions about, fucking hedging or, I don't know, whatever. People hit us up all the time about all sorts of fucking weird questions. Don't fucking hit me up and ask me if your 10-leg multi has a chance of winning. But certainly, if you've got some decent punting related questions, certainly feel free to send us a message in the Tripod app or send us a message on the Tripod page on Facebook. Just shoot us a message there. Be more than happy to answer your questions. But that'll do it for this week, guys. And I will catch you on Sunday night after the late game, after the Bulldogs Sharks game, for a full breakdown of round 15. And hopefully we've won money for 3 weeks in a row while Jacob's been away. All right, guys. Catch you then. See ya.